هو مفتاح العربية فين؟ فين المكفاه؟ يا سلمى مفتاح العربية فين؟ طيب
فين ندى؟ حط دي فيها.
اشرب ميه وانزل.
مين هيشيل الكفتاي؟ انا مش ايوه انا عارفه دي.
السلام عليكم.
يعني مش باي بره؟
صح بره البيت يلا. لا باي.
السلام عليكم. Hello everyone.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. عليكم السلام محمد.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
دكتور هبة.
طب ما هي دي مقفوله.
قاعد يا اختي.
Dr. Heba, how are you? Can you hear us?
Yes.
طيب, I just would like you to make me the host.
اوكي I'm sorry عشان طبعا انا كنت عند ناس وكده فالصوت باين. سوري جدا.
Never mind.
اوكي.
Okay.
خلص افصل.
Okay. Am I the host now? I'm just trying. Yes, I'm the host. I'm going to mute you all, guys, and in some seconds, Mr. Lotfy is going to be with us. Okay. And in case you have a question, just raise your hand. Okay. Okay, 1 minute. Okay, Mr. Lotfi, you're unmuted now. You can speak. Yes.
Okay. I'm not sure whether my camera is working.
Yeah, it's working. Yes, it's working. We can see you. Yes.
This is good. Okay. So, Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. How are you all? Hope you find this session useful. Let's start with icebreaker as usual. And now I will introduce myself through an activity. So, yeah, please, Mr. Muhammad, the first one. These are 7 pieces of information about me. 2 of them are lies, are not true. So I will give you 1 minute to read the information and think or make a guess about which ones are the lies. So you have 1 minute to do this now. Yeah, your guesses, please. Number 4. Yeah, I have taught English for more than 20 years, actually. 2 and 7. Who's that? Who said 2 and 7? 1. I'm 43. Yeah, I'm 43, actually. 6 and 7. 6 is true. I have acrophobia. This is right. Rehat says 2 and 7. Yeah, this is true. Very good. So I'm not living in Dubai now. I'm living in Oman, in Sohar, which is a city in the north of Oman. And also, I'm not a heavy smoker. I'm not a smoker too. I don't smoke. I have never smoked. So this is 2 and 7. Very good. Okay, so now let's start our topic about memorizing vocabulary. Do you think you have problems in this area in your classrooms? Yes, many teachers complain that students are not able to memorize vocabulary. This is why we are going to try to address this issue today by talking about memory. And we are not going to talk about memory in details because this is a very broad topic actually, and it can take forever. But we will talk about the points which concern us as English teachers in the classroom context, which we can help, or we will talk about the knowledge that can help us in our classroom to help students or to move students ahead in terms of memory. So please, next slide, Mr. Muhammad. We have, these are the 3 types of memory, as you can see. I'm not sure if you can see the slide now or not. Yeah. Okay, good. So now we have 3 types of memory: short-term, working memory, and long-term memory. We will talk only about the period of time with storage, and we will talk about how we move from one type to another. As for the short-term memory, as you can see, it stores the words from 3 to 5 seconds, very limited time. And for the working memory, up to 60 seconds, just 1 minute. The long-term memory can take many variations actually, because it can be, if you have or if you can store the word for 5 minutes, this is called long-term memory. And if you can remember the word for your whole lifetime, this is also called this is all called long-term memory. So a long-term memory follows a kind of continuum from minutes, and then you can say hours, days, months, until lifetime memory, which we call permanent memory. What we want to do or to discuss now in this session, how to move words or how to move information from short term, from only 3-5 seconds to 60 seconds, and from working memory to long-term memory, and also because we said that it is a continuum from the quickly forgotten, just minutes, to the lifetime, and how to move the words in the long-term memory from just minutes into hours, then days, then lifetime, for a lifetime. This depends on a lot of things actually. So now how can we move short-term memory into working memory? Through drilling. So when you model a word for students, not the next slide yet, Mr. Muhammad, the previous one. Yes. So when we just model a word and students memorize this word until they are able to know, Mr. Muhammad, please, the previous slide. Yeah, types of memory. So when you, yeah, this one. No, the next one, please. Types of memory. Yes, this one. Thank you. Types of memory, please, Ms. Muhammad. The previous one. Yeah, now we still memory. How to move from short-term memory? Yeah, this one. How to move from short-term memory to working memory when you model a word for your students. This short-term memory enables students to repeat after you. This is the time between modeling and drilling. We move the words from short-term to working memory through drilling, but on condition that students pay attention to what they are saying while repeating the word. Unfortunately, most of the students don't pay attention to what they say because drilling, as we know, has some problems. So drilling, but on some conditions, and we will deal with this later. From working memory to long-term memory, usually after you model and drill some words, you ask some CCQs, concept checking questions. These concept checking questions that you ask are enough for the words to move from the working memory to the long-term memory, but in the very limited way, only few minutes. And to move from the few minutes to longer time, we need to do some kind of activities or some kind of tasks, because only repetition, as Thornbury explains, that only repeating the words is not guarantee that students will or will keep it in their long-term memory. So what do students need to do? Thornbury explains that as we need the newly learned words to be integrated into the existing knowledge in your mind. So you have some knowledge and you have some experience, and these words are new for the students or for the learners. Now we want to integrate the new information into the older ones. How can we do this? Through activities. This is why the activities that we are going to deal with today, we can call them integration tasks. Integration tasks, to integrate the new information into the older ones. Okay, now we will deal, we have the next question, please, Mr. Muhammad. Yes, what are the main components of vocabulary that we want students to memorize? Yeah, meaning, pronunciation, and form. This is good, very good. Okay, so next slide, please. These are, yeah, right, meaning, pronunciation, and form. And now we will do the activities or some activities which deal with these three areas. We will start with pronunciation, then form, then meaning. Why? Because as we said, that drilling will move the words from short-term to working memory. So we need to start with drilling, which is pronunciation, of course. The second one is identifying words. And we will see this. This is about the form, and the other activities are all about making connection between the form and the meaning. Now, let's start with the first activity. Next slide, please, Mr. Muhammad. Yes, drilling. So what are the problems of drilling in your classroom? We can find that students usually are not interested in drilling. Some of them just make noise while they are drilling. They don't pay attention to what they are saying. Why? As you can see, because this is a kind of mechanical activity. It involves no thinking from the part of students. Students don't have to think about the meaning of the word. So if they are unable to know, or if they don't know the meaning of the word, they still can drill the words. The other thing is that this is boring for students, and if something is boring, you don't pay attention to do. So now we will take two activities to address these problems. How can we make drilling interesting, and how can we make it meaningful? So imagine that you have just presented those words. Next slide, please, Mr. Muhammad. Yes, drilling.
This one?
Yes. Okay. The next one, please. Next one, please. Yeah, yes. So imagine that you have presented these words and you want to drill with the students. First of all, you need to know that you don't drill after highlighting the form. So don't write the words on the board and then you model and drill, because it will become reading. Students will look at the board and repeat. So now these words you as a teacher have just presented. How can you make them interesting for students? This is a kind of activity which is called reverse drilling. So you say, when you say a word, students repeat after you. Then you say two words, but students at this time repeat the two words, but in a reverse order. So for example, Mr. Muhammad, could you please, the next slide, and model this activity with me?
Okay.
Okay, and please, while you are watching and listening, please try to do the same as Mr. Muhammad. So I will say two words while you are unmuting the microphones, but to yourself. You can do that to yourself. So now I will say, Mr. Muhammad, I will say 2 words and you say them in a reversed order. Okay? Okay. Now, flight, airport.
Airport, flight.
Okay, now don't look, Mr. Muhammad.
I'm not looking.
Don't look at it, please.
Yes.
And
no.
Now,
okay.
Yeah, okay. So let's see how many words you can do. Okay, good. Flight,
Okay.
airport.
Airport, flight.
Good. Flight, airport, shopping.
Shopping, airport, flight.
Good. Flight, airport, shopping, fun.
Fun, shopping, airport, flight.
Okay, good. Flight, airport, shopping, fun, special.
Special, fun, shopping, airport, flight.
Great. This is challenging. Okay. Flight, airport, shopping, fun, special, diving.
Diving, special.
Try to be fast.
I don't know. I forgot.
So, Mr. Muhammad, yeah. Mr. Muhammad could do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5 words. When you do this with your students, they become interested in what they are saying. When they are, this is the element which makes or which moves the words from the short-term memory to the long-term memory. Okay, so this is one way. Yeah, of course, without writing on the board. So don't write this on the board while you are doing this, because the students can see and they can read. This shouldn't be on the board, of course. Okay, the next activity is called dramatic drilling. Dramatic drilling. It needs some drama and some acting, let me say. Okay, so imagine that you have presented these words of activities that you do. And if you look at these activities, do you think that you like doing all these activities?
Maybe yes, maybe no.
Yeah, some of them you like and some of them not. So I don't think that females, for example, like washing dishes. I think this is one of the worst things that they do at home, or cooking or cleaning or these things. But when it comes to surfing the internet, for example, it's exciting, it's interesting, right? Okay, so now after presenting these words, you can ask students, of course, without writing on the board, I will say a word and you say it in a happy tone if you like it, and in a sad tone if you don't like the activity. Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay. So if you like the activity, will you say it in a happy tone or in a sad tone?
Yes.
If you like it.
Yes. If I like it,
good.
I will say it in a happy tone, yes.
Good. I asked some CCQs for
yes, for a chicken, the meaning.
Yeah, chicken.
It's my next session, by the way.
Very good, excellent.
Yes.
Okay, so now let's remove this because we don't want you to look at words. And now we will do the same. We will do the same with Mr. Muhammad. Can we start, Mr. Muhammad?
Yes, I'm here, yes.
Okay, now, cooking.
Cooking.
Watching TV.
Watching TV.
Washing dishes.
Washing dishes.
Ah, you don't like it?
No,
okay.
I don't like
Relaxing.
it. Relaxing.
Good. Okay, cleaning.
Cleaning.
Doing assignments.
Doing assignment.
Surfing the internet.
Surfing the internet, yes.
Yes, okay, good. So now what is the benefit or what is the use of this activity? Students, while they are drilling, they need to think about the meaning because they have to make a choice whether they like it or enjoy it or not, right?
Of course.
Yeah, okay. So when you think about the meaning while drilling, it means that you have to pay attention to what you are saying. So
yes.
Students are interested and paying attention, and these two elements change drilling from a mechanical activity to a meaningful activity, which enables you to move the words from the short-term memory, just two or 3 seconds, to the working memory,
Memory,
60
yes.
seconds. Yeah, right?
Yes, of
Good.
course.
Okay, now let's move to, now we can say that, or somebody can say that working memory, why is it useful? Or how can we move it, or move from working memory to the long term? After drilling, what do you usually do after modeling and drilling? You usually ask CCQs, concept checking questions, right? Good.
Yes.
Now, these CCQs, when you ask them, students have to make decisions about the words, about the meanings of the words. So imagine that you have just presented the word overweight. So you ask students, does it mean thin? So they need to think about the meaning now. Does it have the same meaning of thin? Of course, yes or no? Overweight, does it mean thin?
No.
Yes. Does it mean fat?
Yes.
Good. So this minute allows you to ask some CCQs where students start making up their minds and making decisions about the word. This minute and this CCQs moves the words from the working memory, just 1 minute, to the long-term memory. But still, we have just said that the long-term memory is not a lifetime memory. It's not all about lifetime memory or permanent memory. We start from just minutes, then we can say hours, then days, then months, then permanent memory. So how can we move the students from the quickly forgotten words to the never forgotten words, the end of the continuum? This is about the integration tasks that we have talked about. So now we will start our activities. Form. The activity is coming, is about form. And when we talk about form, what do we mean by form? What do you mean by the form of the word? Unfortunately, I can't see the answers
okay, but I can read them for you.
Yeah, please. Yes.
Okay, but no one has pressed anything about the form yet.
Yeah, how we can write them,
yes,
Mr. Ahmed Al-Mazdar. Yeah, this is great. How we can write them, or the spelling of the word. The spelling. And by the way, the form refers to both pronunciation and spelling, but just to distinguish between them, they say pronunciation and form. So form means spelling. Okay, so now let's move on. The first activity is called identifying. So can you tell me what is identifying in English? Yes. Okay, so identifying, when you identify something, you recognize it where it is hidden somewhere. So the words is usually hidden in a text, and you identify the words. So let's take an example of this. Look at this. What do we call this activity? Next one, please.
Can you see anything here on board? Actually, I have a problem right now. I'm trying to fix the problem.
Okay, no problem. It will wait for you, Mr. Muhammad.
Yes, 1 minute, please.
Okay. Take your time.
I really want to change this laptop because it's not working well. Can you see anything now?
Yeah, form. You can see the form.
Yes, okay. I'm trying to...
Next slide is identifying.
Okay, I'm trying really hard to do it. Okay, yes, that's it.
Yes, the next one, please.
Okay. At this one?
Yeah, this one. Yeah, what do we call this activity? Can anybody answer? Yeah, it's a puzzle,
Crossword,
but
puzzle.
it's not a crossword. It's not, yeah, word search. Yeah, good. This is a word search. So why is it called word search? Because we are searching for the words. So now you can look and try to find some words of clothes. Can you find words here from this word search? Yeah, right. Good. Yeah, excellent. Good. Skirt, trousers, shorts. Excellent. Okay, so now let me ask you, while you are finding the words, what did you focus on? Pronunciation, meaning, or form, or spelling? Yes, spelling. So you are focusing on spelling here, because all the words in the word search are clothes words. So you are just identifying those. So this is identifying. And this is very, very less challenging activity. It's not very challenging for students. And we want to say here that all the activities that we do or that we are going to do through this session is about making decisions about the word. And the more, as Thornbury explains, the more decisions we make about the word, the more the word moves along the continuum of the long-term memory. So the more activities, the more memorable the words are. And the more challenging the activities are, the more retainable and memorable the words are. This is why we will move from less challenging activities to more challenging. This is the least challenging one. I will show you another way of identifying words. Next slide, please, Mr. Mohammed. Now, this is a short text. I want you to find out also the words of clothes, the words referring to clothes. Can you find them? Yes, right? Great. Excellent. Okay, of course, there are other words in the text. Not all the words are clothes word. This is why you need to identify the word, to find the word. Here, you have two options for this activity. One option is to write the words on the board, and you ask students, okay, look at these words and find them in the text. This means this aims for only spelling. This is if you want your students to focus on or to notice the form of the words. So students, in order to find the words in the text, they need to focus on the spelling of the words on the board, then try to find them in the text. Another way of doing so is to ask students, as I have just said to you now, find the words of clothes. This is about form and meaning, because they have to decide whether it is relevant to clothes or not. So this is form and meaning. You can also ask students or write some words on the board, and you ask them to copy these words in your notebook, but in the order you find in the text. So they need also to look at the text, find the words, and write in the same order. So this is a spelling related activity. The next one, please, Mr. Mohammed. This is also identifying activity. But if you have a listening text, if the lesson is listening and you want students to identify, so you write the words on the board and you ask them, okay, now we will play the recording and take the words that you hear. Or only write the words that you hear. This is identifying, but through listening. Here, you are making connection between the spelling and what? When you listen and identify the word or take the word. So you are making connection between spelling and, yes, great, pronunciation. Excellent, good. So this is another way of identifying words. Okay, now let's move on to the next type of activity, which is a bit more challenging. Meaning. So the next activities will be concerned with meaning. meaning and form, of course. You need to recognize the words and make a decision about the meaning. Okay, now the first one. Yes, selecting. Selecting means choosing one or more words from a list according to the rubrics that you have said in the instructions. So let's take an example of a selecting activity. Yes, is that clear for you? So this is odd one out. It's very common in your classroom. Which is the odd word in the following list? Please read the words and find the odd word. Think only about the meaning, not the form of the word. Okay, so now Mr. Ahmed Hassan says smoking. Can you tell us why, please? Why do you think smoking? Malaka? Miss Malaka? Yeah? Harmful, and the others are? Yes, are not harmful, not a hobby. Yeah. But do you think thinking is a hobby or cooking? I don't think cooking is probably. Here, Miss Umneya says thinking. Why? Why do you think thinking? And Miss Hantu, why thinking? It's not a hobby. Yeah, but is smoking a hobby? It's a mental process. Okay, good. Yeah, there may be routine, others may be routines. Okay, I have a question for you here. So some of you can say that smoking is harmful, but others are not, so it's the odd one. Others can say that thinking, because it is a mental process. One of the students, when I asked students to do this, one of them told me that cooking is the odd one out. Can you think about a way where or through which cooking can be the odd one? It is correct. It's also correct. Yeah, physical, good. So here also you can see that a lot of various answers. The question here, which is very important in terms of this activity, can we accept all these answers, or is there only one correct answer? Yeah, we can accept all these answers are correct on condition that you are able to justify your opinion, to justify why, to tell why. So it's not enough to tell the students which one is the odd one out, this one, okay. And it's also very useless to say that there is only one correct answer, because the students made effort. The idea here is not what the correct answer is. The idea here is the mental effort students have exerted while thinking about the meaning and why they think this is the odd one out and not that. If the student is able to justify his opinion or justify the word he chooses, you need to accept it and you need to praise him for this. So in this kind of activity, there is no right answers. All the answers are correct on condition that students are able to justify their opinion, because the mental effort here is what we need. So in order to move words from minutes to hours, we need to exert some effort. If you exert more effort thinking about the meaning of the word and making decisions, this means that you are moving from hours to days and so on. Okay. So you usually ask students to justify their answers. The next activity.
Yeah.
Yeah, please, Mr. Muhammad.
Okay, I'm so sorry to interrupt. Mr. has a question. Yes, Mr. Bakri has a question. He is raising his hand. Okay.
Okay, Mr. Bakri. Okay. It's okay.
No,
Go ahead.
No, thank you.
Okay, don't you have a question? Okay. Okay, Mr. Lotfy, you can
no
go.
Question. Okay.
Go ahead. Yes, you can move on. Yes.
Next one, please. Okay. The next one, please. Yes.
I think.
Look at this activity. Yeah.
Other people are raising their
Yeah,
hands.
yeah, all
Okay,
answers
so
are correct.
Mr. Sab, I have a
But
question.
if a student is
Yes,
able
Salaam
to
alaikum.
justify his
Yes, please, I have a,
opinion,
yes, I'm sorry
no
to
problem.
interrupt
You can
you.
stop and answer the questions.
Please, yes. I have a question here.
Okay, go ahead, please.
My question is, all these activity, before writing the words on the
It's
board,
okay. Yeah, again, please.
all these activity before writing the words or the new vocabulary on the board, it's a traditional way that we write the vocabulary on the board, the main vocabulary of the word of the lesson. I understand from you that all these activities without writing them on the board, is it right?
No, I haven't said so. What I meant by without writing is drilling, only drilling. After you model and drill the words, you can write them on the board. It's okay. It's important to write them on the board for students to refer to when they need them.
Yes. Yes.
But without the translation, of course, without the equivalence in their mother tongue. Only the English words. You write them after drilling.
Yes, thank you.
So all these activities are after presenting the meaning, highlighting the form, modeling, and drilling, starting from identifying words.
But Mr.
So after drilling,
yes.
yeah.
But Mr.
Please.
Sabri was telling you, Dr. Lotfi, that the traditional way that many teachers do or follow is that they start writing the word on board and then they highlight the meaning and then the pronunciation.
I don't recommend this. I don't recommend this. The sequence of teaching vocabulary is to start with the meaning and sometimes the form. But this is a very big topic, very broad topic that needs a session in presenting vocabulary. But what I tell you is that you can start with the form on one condition. So here, the words, you can start with the words when you elicit the words from the context. So if you want your students to guess the meanings of the words from the reading text, so how can you start with meaning? So they see the words first, and then from the words or from the other accompanying context or accompanying sentences, accompanying words, they guess the meaning of the word from this context. So they see the word first. So when they see the word first, means that the form is first.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, right?
But Mr.
Now,
Ahmed
but
Taiba,
if
yes.
you, yeah.
Hi, Mr. Muhammad. Hi, Mr. Lotfi.
Hi, Mr.
Hi.
Ahmed.
Thank you very much for the nice lecture as usual. We used it from your side. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thanks
much.
so much for your feedback.
Thank you so much. And of course, thanks for Mr. Muhammad Sabr always for his sharing and for his nice information for us. Thank you. I want to just clarify the question before because my colleague mentioned how to present the vocabulary if the normal way we use that we present the vocabulary in our classrooms on board, but this is not the issue. I want to just answer or give a feedback about that because we are using, sorry, of course, Dr. Lotfi for interrupting you.
No problem, but I will interrupt you again, please.
Okay.
Please, I am not a doctor.
Mr.
You can say Mr. Lotfi, and you can say Lotfi. It's
Habibi,
okay for me.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, it's better for me to say Lotfi.
We appreciate
or anyone.
We appreciate what you say. Okay. Thank you very much. I mean that sometimes we present the vocabulary in teaching vocabulary and reading before the session, but the answer here that we can present it in such exercise or clarification before we start, not to give the vocabulary itself or to facilitate the reading itself. We are just giving a feedback about what we are going to teach, like teaching vocabulary and teaching the reading goals. Yeah. So this is to clarify what my colleague asked for.
Okay, but I think, okay, so now we are talking about presenting vocabulary, and this is a very, very different issue. So in order not to interrupt the flow of thoughts of other members of the session, so we can talk about this at the end of the session, if you like, okay, or in a later session, if you like to plan for another session where we talk about presenting vocabulary. And if you like to discuss this at this session. At the end, we can discuss in details, because in order for other people who are interested in practicing or the activities to, if they want to leave at the end, they can, and we can sit until you are satisfied with
Thank you very much. But I want to just clarify the idea that we are not, the idea of writing the vocab on board before we start the lessons. This is a very traditional and old way of teaching vocab at all.
Yeah, I agree with you.
So
I agree with you.
We should forget about it totally.
Sure, I agree with you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Okay. So now, if you look at
can we take some questions? I'm sorry, Mr. Lotfy, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but can we take some other questions?
But if it is, it's
sure, as many people,
if it is related to the, to the
as
same.
Many people are raising their hands.
Of memorizing vocab. Okay, no problem, no problem.
Okay, so we have here Mr. Romy. Yes, Mr. Romy.
Okay, Mr. Rami, go ahead.
Hi, Mr. Lotfy. Hi, how are you?
Hi, fine, and you?
I'm so sorry. I raised the hand by mistake. I'm so sorry.
It's okay, no problem.
Go on, nice session, nice session.
Okay, Mr. Saeed.
Thanks.
Do you have a question?
Yes.
Yes, please, Mr. Saeed, go ahead.
I can't wait for the session, but I want to know how can I...
Excuse me, I can't hear you pretty well.
I want to know that how can, or what is the most important steps to introduce my vocabs, that I will write first, or I will introduce the meaning first, or the form or spelling, what I should do first, because I came late. I'm so sorry.
It's okay, so I will answer you in brief, and if you want details, so we can do this at the end of the session. So as for the meaning, form, and pronunciation, there are two models of doing this. If you are using a text to introduce your vocabulary, this means that the form is first, because students will see the words and they will guess the meanings of these words from the context. So form first. If you are teaching a reading lesson, for example, and you want to pre-teach some vocabulary before they read, so now they will not read the text first. Okay, so meaning, pronunciation, finally you highlight the form. So either if you are pre-teaching and not, the vocabulary is not your main aim, you start with meaning, you elicit the meaning, then pronunciation, modeling and drilling, showing stress and these other features of pronunciation, then form, you highlight the form on the board. Another model, the other model, if the vocabulary is your main aim of the lesson and you decide to teach vocabulary through a context, this means that students will see the words first in the text and they understand the meaning. So form first, then meaning, and finally pronunciation.
Okay, doctor. Thank you so much. Thank you, doctor.
No, it's okay. Welcome. So if you want more details, we can discuss later. No problem at all. Okay, now if we look at this activity, we will find that it is also selecting, because there are, as you can see, there are so many adjectives here. But how many words will we choose? Five. So it means that we will choose some of the words from the list, which means it is selecting. Can you do this activity, please? Choose 5 words to describe yourself. It's a selecting. Yeah, how can you classify it as selecting? Because choosing some words out of a list. Yeah, choose 5 words and write the 5 words, please. Why are you sad? Nice. Okay, let me ask. Good. Okay, so I have a lot of answers now from different members, which means that you are more interested to do this activity. Why? Do you feel interested in doing this? I think so, because there are so many answers. So why do you think you feel, yeah, personal? Because this is personalized. So people usually like to talk about themselves. Excellent. And here, personalizing the vocabulary is a very important factor of memorizing them, because as Bill Pro explains or argues, that if we can relate the vocabulary to our own life, our experience, or people that we know, not necessarily ourselves, we can talk about our families, our friends, like this. So if we can relate this, so the words are more likely to stick, to be stored for longer time. So here, this is a kind of personalized activity. Okay, what do you think you need to do after doing this? So after asking students, and students wrote the adjectives that describe themselves, what do you think is the next step in the same activity? So you ask them to write. Yeah, here I have someone said that you ask, or you talk to your partner about them. So let students talk about these descriptions or these adjectives, tell each other about them, and discuss these adjectives. So they can disagree. Oh, you say you are funny, you are not. Oh, what about you? Are you clever? So this kind of argument in class maximizes students' talking time and gives more opportunity for students to memorize the word, because they are discussing and they are using the words. Okay, the next activity, please, Mr. Muhammad. Matching. This is a way of pairing two different items together. Pairing the word that you have just presented with other things. You can pair this word with a picture. So you can ask students, okay, these are the words and these are the pictures, match the words with the pictures. Or you can pair them with synonyms. What is the synonym of this? What is the antonyms of these words? Or let's see the next one. Or with definition, yeah, right. So here we have two lists, verbs and nouns. And now we ask students to make collocations from these two lists. Can you give me an example of this? Can you find a collocation from these two lists? Yeah, right? Go sightseeing, excellent. Why so, Miss Malaka? Don't know why you want to shoot your father. Oh yeah, right, good. So here, while students are doing so, can you do this without thinking about the meaning of both lists? Of course not. They need to think about the meaning of the word before. So this is a decision students make about the word. So as we have just said, so the more activities or the more decisions students make about words, the more likely the words will be remembered later. It here the form and the meaning, because you cannot say go sightseeing without knowing the meaning of sightseeing, of course. Okay, now this is a matching activity, another kind of activities that can help students memorize words. Sorting. Yes, sorting means what? Can you give me another word for sorting? Yeah, excellent. Classifying, categorizing. So putting these words in different categories. Excellent. Okay, let's see an example of this. So these are some adjectives, and we need to put them in positive and negative. Yeah, so here, you asked students to classify the words, but you gave them the title, positive and negative, which is a bit straightforward. Of course, you can all do this. This is very simple. But there is another way to do the same activity, which is more challenging. When you give the students the words and you ask them to classify them or to group them in 2 or 3 categories without giving them the title. So now they need to think for themselves to find a way to group these words. Like the next activity, please, Mr. Muhammad, the next one. So please, I want you to put these words in, you need, I will need you to do this activity yourself. So please find a way to put the following words in 2 or 3 groups of your own. No titles are given, no sounds, are sure. So what about now? Okay, please find a way to group these words. Yeah, but vegetables is only one group. Vegetables and what? Here you can find a lot of variations of this. So if you ask students to do this activity in your class, you will find a lot of variations. You will not find the same copy with all students because they think for themselves, which is a bit creative. It needs some kind of or some degree of creativity. So you can find, so someone says the vegetables and fruit, other foods. Someone can say, for example, so I have come across a lot of grouping. For example, one of the students says low fat and high fat. See, this is a very far idea. So healthy food and unhealthy food, like and don't like. Okay, this is an example of what students have come up with. So please, the next one, please, Mr. Muhammad. See, this student has been, or this learner has been living in a far village. So it was difficult for him to find out some food, and some others were just easy for them to find. So this is very far idea, and we should accept this, and we should praise him for this. So easy to find and difficult to find. This is great. Do you agree with me that this grouping is correct? Yes, so it depends on the student's idea. And here I would say again that it's not the right answer or the wrong answer. It's the mental effort students exert while working. It is this mental effort which allows students to move the words from the quickly forgotten memory to the permanent memory. And here also, after you finish this activity, after students have finished, what should you do? Yeah, good. So you ask students to exchange their notebooks and discuss these in pairs. They can agree and they can disagree, they can debate, and so on. This provides students another opportunity to discuss and use these words and to think about the meanings of these words, and also maximizes students' talking time. Yes, excellent, good. Now, the next activity, please, or the next type of activity. Yeah, ranking and sequencing. It is just like finding a way to put. Yeah, Dr. Heba?
Yes, no, I'm Miss Malika.
Yeah, Miss Malika.
Yes. I have a question, if you please.
Okay, of course, sure.
Yes. What I have understood that all these activities related to the blocking words which I will present in the lesson.
So these activities can be presented in two types or in two forms. If your main aim is vocabulary, so you need, after presenting the vocabulary, you need to practice, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So you practice through these activities. These are activities to practice your vocabulary. So this if the vocabulary is your main aim. But
I thought that all this before knowing the meaning and presenting the vocabulary.
So how can?
So I was
that,
confused about that. Yeah.
No, they need to first to know. So all these activities are after presenting the meaning of the words. Students are now, but they need to practice and produce.
To consolidate the meaning or the words.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Most welcome.
Yeah.
Okay. Now ranking and sequencing. It's finding a way to put the words in order according first to the activities. So here I can say that Ms. Nihal, I think, said warm up. You can use it as a warm up, but if you are recycling previous vocabulary, so you can use this to to recycle the previous lesson, the vocabulary of the previous lesson. Okay, now ranking and sequencing. So you find a way to rank the words. So I want you to read this question, please, and tell me, or you can do the activity yourself. Yes, personalized, right? So imagining a situation which relate to yourself. So what is the first thing? If you are in this situation, you have moved to a completely empty flat and you don't have enough money to buy everything. So what is the first thing you will have to buy? So first, then next one. Okay, for students, yeah, right. For students to do this activity, do they need to think about the meaning? Yeah, they need to think about the meaning. So how can they put them in order? Why? In what order do they put this? So you choose the first, the most important thing for you, and you buy first, and the next one in the next week, and the next one in the next week. So you need to make a decision which is the most important thing for you, which is the most important item for you, and you buy it first. So you put it first. Then think about the next one. In order to do so, priority, good. So in order to do so, you need to think about the meaning and make decision whether this is important or which is more important, which is actually a very challenging activity. It's cognitively demanding. You need to make decisions about these, a lot of things. All of them are important. And here, the activity is demanding, cognitively demanding. They need, or it needs a lot of cognitive work, a lot of mental effort, which, as we said from the beginning, as the more demanding or the more cognitively demanding the activity is, the more words will be memorable. Okay, so this is a way of ranking and sequencing. Do we have another way of doing so? Please, the next one, please, Mr. Mohammed. Yes, another way to rank or to sequence words is chronological order. Chronological order means temporal order, so in order of the time. So please look at these words and put them in the order it occurs in your country. Which is the first one which occurs to any person? Yeah, of course, be born. What's next? Yeah. Right. After school. Oh, not get married after school. So a lot of, yeah. So do you graduate before before joining university or after university? Yes. Yeah. Yes. Right. Okay, good, great. So now, what do you think about this? Do students need to make decisions about these words? Do students know the meaning, need to know the meaning of these words before they can or they are able to sequence them? Yes, they need. So it is demanding. It's cognitively demanding. You can do this activity with any types of words. For example, if you are talking about daily activities or daily routine, so you can ask students, for example, have lunch, go to school, have breakfast, sleep, like this, and then tell him to put the words in order that in the same order you do in your or on your day. So you start by get up, then pray, have breakfast, go to school, come back home, have lunch, and so on. So this needs thinking about the meanings of the words. Okay,
I am
any
sorry,
question
sir.
here before we move on?
Yes, I am sorry, sir. I'm sorry, sir. I have a tough question.
It's okay, sure.
My question is, as a teacher in school or even in private lessons, all these activities, we use the activities about the vocabulary, which may be in the test. For example, in the test, we have choose the correct answer about the on the vocabulary, or even match. We train our students the exercises which may be or which exist in the test. Is it enough for a student to acquire a language, to choose the activities or the exercises which may be in the final exam?
Okay, let me ask you a question, please.
Yes.
What do students need about to know in order to answer the exam questions?
To be trained well, or to be prepared for the test, to answer a lot of questions for the test.
Okay, so if they have answered a lot of questions, but they are not sure about the meanings, can they answer? So if you give them every day 10 multiple choice questions and they don't know the meanings of the words, can they answer the exam
No,
even if they are trained?
No, they will understand the
agree
meaning.
With you. I agree with you that we need to train students for the type of questions that appear in the exam. But
yeah,
we need also to find a way to motivate students to learn. And these are different activities. Train your students. I don't say don't train them for the exam, but these are a variety of ways to use in your classroom which tend to motivate your students, because we usually complain as teachers that students are not interested, they are not motivated, they don't do what we ask them to do or type of work. So if you use these kinds of activities in your class, this will help students to become motivated and also to practice the meaning and the form of the words. Then you train them on the questions of the exam. Why not doing the both of them?
Some teachers and as some students think that it's a waste of time. Okay, because this exercise won't come in the test or in the final test, and it won't help us. Okay, and then they keep the words by the word and its translation in front of it, and they can keep the words for a long time. التلوث pollution تلوث، وبالتالي بيكتبها على انها كده في الاكزام عشان بس الاكزام بس الترجمه بس.
I would say, okay, I would say that a few students do what you say. This is why we usually say that for only 5 of the 50 students we have in class memorize vocabulary in the same way. Only
Yes.
few students are able to do this. But we haven't tried something else with the other students who are not able to memorize vocabulary. So our session is memorizing vocabulary. Students who suffer from not being able to memorize vocabulary, do we leave them because they are not able to learn by heart in the same way by using the equivalence of words? So will we leave them or we try to motivate them? So it's our job. This is one. The second one is the exam is not the only target. The exam is one aim. And actually the exam is a mean of assessment. We're assessing students. But the main aim is to prepare our students for real life.
Yes, thanks a lot. Thank you very much.
Welcome. Okay, so let's see another way of. Do you have another question?
Hello, doctor. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I wanna discuss the idea of having very heavy curriculum. So we have many vocab all the time. So how can we solve these problems? As you were trying to discuss all these activities, it's perfect. But I can say all of them can work better with the course, which is designed for a short time or such things. But for the curriculums of our schools, we have many vocab that we cannot all the time do all these activities. So how can we deal with such issue?
So you talk about the problem of time.
Yeah, and the the heavy curriculums designed in Egypt for all stages of school. So we have. By the way, a lot of things to be discussed. We have to try to let the student get improved in all the skills of the language, not only reading all vocab. So how can we deal with this? I think we have like a design system from A to Z to do that. But for the courses, yeah, because all the time I'm designing the course myself as a trainer, and I can do it as I want all the time. But do you have, I'm just thinking with you, do you have any idea about how to make this possible for our schools? Because that's the big issue, by the way.
Of course, this is a big issue, but I'm not sure whether you ask me about the time for vocabulary facts or the time for all the skills and systems of language. If you are asking me about all the skills and systems, this needs some kind of 3-4 sessions, not only one or not only 1 minute. But if you ask me about vocabulary, let's take an example. Okay, so if you make a routine for your students to start by warming them up by using or by recycling vocabulary that you have previously studied. So you have just 3-4 minutes in the beginning of each class to warm students up, to prepare them for the lesson, and at the same time you recycle vocabulary. So tomorrow, for example, after presenting these words, you go tomorrow and you do this activity in the warm-up activity, in the warm-up stage. So 2-3 minutes, and then you move on to your lesson to complete your lesson. And actually the problem of time is usually a problem of, I'm sorry to say this, I don't want to say this, but it's usually the problem of the teacher. So sometimes we as teachers waste a lot of our time in class by wrong instructions, for example. So we give wrong or not clear instructions for students, and students are not or confused about what to do. So this is wasting students' time. By, for example, when you are teaching a reading lesson, you insist that students do all the questions. Why should students do all the questions? If you have 10 questions and you ask students, so this is a kind of individualizing instruction. So you ask students, do from 4 questions to 10. So now, some of the students which are fast achievers, they will do the 10 in 2-3 minutes, or say 5 minutes. And if some of the other students or low achievers do 4 questions, they feel the sense of achievement because this is your instructions. So you need to think about a lot of things. This is a very big issue and it needs a lot of discussions actually. So we can discuss this, or there are a lot of ways to do this, but be prepared to manage your time, prepare well before you come into the class, prepare your instructions, how you will manage your class, grouping students. For example, let me give you an example. I'm sorry to be distracted out of the topic, but I will tell you for reading, for example, you have a very long text. Okay, so the text is composed of 6 paragraphs. So instead of asking all the students to read all the paragraphs, why not grouping students and ask each group to read 1 paragraph, only 1 paragraph, and answer 2 questions. So the group 1 or Group A will read the first paragraph and answer the first two questions. Group B will read the second paragraph and answer the next two questions, 3 and 4. After they finish, you ask students, one from each group meet the other groups and they exchange information. This is what we call jigsaw reading. So this saves a lot of time in your class. Why do we insist that students need to read every word in the text? A lot of things that we can do. I hope that I give you a very brief idea to answer your question, but it's a very broad topic actually. Okay, now can we move on? Okay, so now which of the words you liked most? This is another word which makes a relationship between students' feelings and the words. You don't put these words in any order but your preference. Which of these words you liked most? You may like it for the pronunciation, you like the pronunciation, or you may like the meaning of the word is connected to yourself in some way, or you like the spelling of the word. So can you put these words in order of preference? Which one you like most? This is 1. The next will be 2. Can you do this? So, okay, now creative art. Can I ask you why? Why did you choose creative first, Ms. Umnia? Oh, marriage, yeah? Okay, Mr. Hassan. So I understand, I can understand. Yeah. So students do this at your preferences. This is something related to the affective factor. So if students are emotionally connected to the words, if they interact to the words in emotionally, this makes the language more memorable. Then you ask students to discuss together. Why did you choose this word first? Oh, I like the meaning because I like to be creative. Okay, so why did you choose low last? Because I don't like to follow the law or to follow the rules like this. So when students discuss the meanings of this is also another opportunity to use the language and maximize the students' talking time. Okay, so it's also fun when you choose something that you like, to have a say in your class. Oh, right. Yeah, good. So this is the reason. The important point here is not only students will put the words in order, but to ask them about the reason, because that's what will help you to make sure that students thought about the reason or the meaning of the words. Okay, so this is all about ranking. The next type of activity, please. Association. Associations means relating the words to something else. So and this is very important actually, this is a type of integrating the newly learned words to the existing knowledge or to the previous knowledge. Now let's see an example of association. Mr. Muhammad, please. Yeah. Now look at the picture and look at these words. The same words of the previous task. Look at the words and look at this picture and try to make an association between each word and something in the picture. For example, the word airport. Can you find any relation between the picture and the word airport? So students may need to be creative, thinking about a way to relate or to associate the word with the picture. For example, look at this woman leaving, she's leaving. So the students may say, so I connect the word with this woman, airport. This woman is leaving because she wants to go to the airport because she has a plane after 3 or 4 hours. So this is just creativity. So it's a more cognitively demanding relating something which is very far, which is not very clear. It's much more useful than giving the picture of the airport and the word airport. Just matching, it's very easy to do. But when you think in a creative way like this, the words become more memorable because it needs more effort and more cognitive work. Okay, so for example, the word membership. Can you find a way to relate membership to this picture? Tell me what is the relation between membership in a sentence in order to see the relation or the association. Excellent, Mr. Bakri. You should have a membership to join this or to enter or to come in this part. You need to have a membership. Yeah, this is creativity. Good. Okay. Now means they have a membership in a course. Excellent. This is another way. You can accept any answer. And here, the important point is not whether you are convinced with the relation or not. The important point is that students made this effort and this cognitive effort or this creativity to match the word, which makes the word more memorable and more retainable later. Okay, now let me ask you about the word neat. Can you try to associate it to something here? Yeah, right. The group look neat. Okay, boys aren't neat. Yeah, right. Good. Disease. Probably, yeah. Garden in a hospital. I haven't thought about this. Yeah, good. So see how much effort do you need, although you are teachers, you need, because this has no relation to being teacher or a student. So this needs a lot of creativity. This needs a lot of cognitive work, and this helps you a lot. And students become very interested, very excited to make these associations, even young learners and teenagers. They like this a lot. So this is a way of associating or relating sense. This is very interesting activity if you use in your classroom. Next one, please, Mr. Muhammad. Production. So all these activities, if you think about these activities, students look at the words and make decisions about them. But until now, they haven't produced the language. So now we need to ask students to produce a language. How? Okay, now next slide, please. Yeah, can we use the same words, need, creative, airport, membership, disease, and law to write a story, including at least 5 of these words? Can you think about a story including only 5 of these words? So please, you have 3-4 minutes, write the story, and I will ask any of you to read his story. So you need to use 5 of these words to write or to invent a story of your own. Will you?
Mr. Bakri, do you have a question?
No, no, no.
Okay.
No, thank you.
Welcome. Okay. Okay, Ms. Iman, I see you raising your hand. If you have a question, just unmute yourself and start speaking.
Thank you, Mr. Muhammad Sabr. Thank you so much. I was raising my hand for adding something about what Dr. Lotfy said about the issue of the Egyptian curriculum.
Okay, yes, okay.
But for this, I'm just thinking.
Okay. Just
Thank
think
you
of
so
a
much.
story to make, yes, okay.
Yeah, I was still thinking. Thank you, Mr. Muhammad.
Most welcome.
Now we have one story. Yeah, Mr. Bakri. I don't know where the story is. I think Mr. Bakri has written a story. So could you please, Mr. Bakri, read the story for us? I won't. Yeah, Mr. Bakri says, I went to the airport as I have a membership in an activity, but unfortunately the disease stopped me to lose my neat friend to attend, and that was a creative idea. Great. Excellent story. Good. So can we have a different story from any other one? I have a membership in an association. Yeah, no, now we will. Well, can anybody read the story, or could anybody read the story for us? Unmute himself and read the story. Yes, please, Ms. Malika.
Okay, Ms. Malika, if you want to say something, just raise your hand. We have Mr. Ahmed, Ahmed Nagar. Yes, Mr. Ahmed. Mr. Ahmed, you've raised your hand. Okay. Ms. Malika, if you want to say something, just raise your hand.
No, Mr. Ahmed, I can't hear you, unfortunately.
Yes, it seems that there is a problem with him.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Now,
yes.
go ahead.
Yes, okay. First of all, I want to welcome Mr. Lotfy for his great session, and welcome Mr. Muhammad Sabr.
Thanks so much.
Yes, this is an interesting session.
Thank you
so let me start with my story. I have a membership at an association, and there was a conference in another country related to this association. So I had to go to the airport to travel. Before I get to the conference, I have to be neat because I will speak to audience. I was creative and all people liked my presentation. While I was there, I caught a cold and I wasn't aware about the laws, but I could find the medicine easily.
Great, awesome. I like the ideas here in this story. It's a creative one. Okay, so now if you see how many stories can we find? So if you have 50 students in class, how many stories, how many different stories can you find? What do you think? You think you have only one story? So yeah, so many. So as many stories as you have individuals in the class. So if you have 60 students, you will have 60 different stories. And then you ask students to, you can ask students to stick their stories on the walls. And then they go do some kind of gallery reading. So they read the story and nominate for the most creative ones. So now you are exposing students to these words again in different contexts. Yeah, gallery reading, gallery walk. So now, first of all, so how much effort you exerted in creating or inventing this story? I think it's very demanding, or it's very cognitively demanding, which, as we have just said, the more cognitively demanding the words or the activity is, the more memorable and retainable the words will be. Okay, so another way of producing this or these words is to ask students to use these words to write or to make a question to ask your friends. So for example, the word neat. Can you use this word in a question for your friend? Think of a question using the word neat to ask your friend. Yes, are you always neat? Okay, okay. Airport. Can you ask your friend a question using the word airport? Airport. Yes, it's a lot of different questions now. Is airport far from you? Have you ever been to the airport? How can I go to the airport? Excellent. So this is another way. After introducing the idea of asking questions, later you can ask students to design a questionnaire using all these words to ask their friends later. So they design the questionnaire and then they move around the class in a kind of mingle activities, and they ask as many partners or as many students as they can, which allows a lot of exposure or a lot of production in the class. Students are exposed to other questions, they answer other questions, and they ask their own questions. This is another way of production. So this is about productions. To wrap up what we have said, we said that we have 3 types of memory: short-term memory, working memory, and long-term memory. To move from short-term, which is about 2 or 3 seconds, to working memory, we need to drill, model, and drill. But on condition that drilling should be interesting and meaningful, which we use 2 activities: reverse drilling and dramatic drilling, to help the students pay attention and focus on the meaning while they are drilling the words. After that, we started some kind of integration tasks that focus on the form and the meaning, identifying the words, finding words where they have been hidden, like the word search, or asking students to find these words or the list of words in the text. And also we went or moved on to selecting odd one out, and we said that here there is no right answer in the odd one out. There is no right answer, but we need students have to justify answer. Then we move to selecting. After selecting, we matching, then sorting, then ranking, then finally association and production. The important idea here is that we move from less challenging tasks to more challenging tasks. And the more challenge the task is challenging, the more the words will be memorable. And the idea, the other important point here is that after students do an activity, don't stop. No, ask them to discuss and negotiate the meaning or the reasons why you did so and so. Now I have finished what I want to say. If you have any question, thank you so much for being here and for cooperation in throughout the session. And if you have any question, please don't hesitate and go ahead.
Okay, Mr. Lotfy, just a gentle reminder. I have something to tell them about.
Okay,
I will
please
send a message now in the chat box for those who would like to get a certificate and attendance certificate. Okay, all you have to do is to click on this link that I will send right now, and they will be able to get a certificate. So it is crucially important to fill in this form so that you can take one or get one. Okay.
Thanks, Mr. Muhammad. Now I'm ready for questions. If anybody has any questions, I'm ready, even if out of or apart from not related, even if it's not related to the same topic, I'm ready for any questions.
Okay, so I send them the message, and in case you have a question, raise your hand and I will unmute you.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so we have here Mr. Saeed.
So vocabulary book for activity, we have English vocabulary in use. It has a lot of interesting activities, English vocabulary in use. And I recommend a book for memorizing. So there is a book for Bill Brooks called Memory Activities in the Language Classroom. Memory Activities in the Language Classroom. If you want the slides, if you want any other questions, if you want to discuss something later, you can contact me on Facebook. You are most welcome. And now, Memory Activities in the Language Classroom, very interesting book.
I wrote them in the chat.
Thanks so much, Mr. Muhammad.
Well, actually, Mr. Saeed, your voice is so low, so we cannot hear you very well. Yeah, do you have a question?
Hear me well?
Yes, of course. Go ahead.
Mr. Lotfy asked me that you can tell me at the end of the session that how can we present vocabs to our students.
Oh, okay. So now about presenting vocabulary, as I have told you that we have two ways of presenting vocabulary. One way is, I recommend this, if your main aim of the lesson is vocabulary, so you need to use text. So you start by leading, asking students a question which is related to the topic. Then you ask students to read the text for just. You give just question for main ideas.
Okay.
Then you ask students, or you put, or you or to find in the text your key vocabulary, and then you match them. You ask students to match them with the definition. So how can they know the meanings of these words? They guess the meanings from the context. Of course, the meaning should be clear in the text. So here you choose a good text in which these words, which are your key vocabulary, are clear to know. So students read the text and try to understand the meanings from the context. Then they match with the definitions or pictures, for example, or synonyms, or any other. So this is a kind of matching. After you do this, or while students are doing this, you are monitoring and giving help and support, asking students questions to make things easier for them. After that, you can start practicing vocabulary through different feedback, of course. Then you are practicing vocabulary through different activities that we have just introduced now. So this is one way. But if the vocabulary is not your main aim, if you have a reading lesson,
okay,
if you have a reading lesson or a listening lesson or a writing lesson, and you want to introduce 5 or 6 words before they read in order to help them with the language they may need in the reading or in the writing or listening or whatever skill or system you are teaching. So you need to do some elicitation before the reading. You cannot use another text to guess the meaning because you are wasting your time. So you will design your lesson as you have a pre-teaching task where you elicit the meanings through pictures, through situations, through examples, or through a lot of different ways. How to elicit this? You start with the meaning. You start with the meaning of the word. So for example, you want to introduce the word airport. So how would you do this? So you have a picture of an airport, but when you introduce the picture to your students, don't say, oh, look, this is an airport. No, this is not involving for students. Use some illustration techniques. For example, look at this picture. What is it in English?
What can you see?
Here you have two options. Now, maybe one of the students knows it, so he will say it, and this is good. So now one says, if they don't know, if all the students don't know, so now what is this? Okay, so this is, you stay or you give time for students to think, and then if they don't know, you start saying airport, airport. So this is an airport. Now, you model and they drill the word, then you ask some CCQs. So in what situations do we go to the airport? When you want to do what? Okay, so when we want to travel, okay, like this. So you elicit, not tell.
Okay.
You can do this through pictures,
okay, Mr. Lotfy,
through examples, through definitions. Yes.
Okay, so Mr. Osama has a question. He's asking us, do we use these methods with adults only or young learners as well?
So I have used these activities with all types of learners, young learners, teenagers, and adults, and with even teachers. And for all of them, they worked very well.
Okay, Miss Malika, you have a question? I have
Yes.
unmuted you, yes.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your Mr.
Thank you, Doctor.
Please, Mr. Lotfy, I would you like to know the difference between the questions in eliciting stage and the question in CCQ's stage. What's the difference between the kind of questions in both of them?
Okay, so when you want to elicit a word, what do you want students to say or to do? To say what?
To get the target language.
Good, to say the word. Yeah. So you want students to say the word. So you start with limiting the meaning of the word, then you ask or you give the meaning and you ask them for the form. Is that clear?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you give the meaning, questions which
limit
the meaning.
Get the meaning. I get the meaning from the question of eliciting?
Yes, no, you produce or you introduce the meaning and you want them to produce the word. But if they don't know the word, you will say, this is eliciting or this is elicitation. So you start with the meaning, you show them the meaning of the word, and you ask them for the word. If some of them or one of them knows it, so let him say it for the other. They start modeling, drilling, and asking CCQ. If none of them knows the word, so you start producing the word. So you want the target language or you want the word. But when you have or when you ask the CCQs, this is different because you don't, CCQs, you ask students about the meaning of this word. So here, you don't ask about the target language, you ask about the meaning. If you ask a question that elicit them to say the target language, but you target or you aim for the meaning, it is okay, it's good, it's better. So the difference is simply, elicitation questions, you want the form. You provide the meaning and you want the form. Therefore, you want them to produce the form. But for CCQs, you produce the form and you want the meaning. So for example, as we have just said, overweight. So is overweight or does overweight mean thin? So now you produce the form and you want from them the meaning, yes or no.
Yes. So should I write the meaning of the definition of the word on the board in front of them?
I don't recommend this actually.
I
don't recommend writing the definition or the meaning on the board, because this will make, if you write the meaning in Arabic or in the mother tongue, it will be very easier for them to look.
No, in English, in English.
Even in English, you don't need to. So you usually want students to think about the meaning of the word. So usually when they don't know the meaning, they refer back and they try to ask you, try to ask other students, and so on.
So when asking them CCQs for the meaning, so I should or I shouldn't write the meaning on the board when asking them CCQs about the meaning of the word.
Yeah, you shouldn't write the meaning. I don't recommend writing the meaning on the board at all.
Yes, yeah. Thank you, Mr. Thank you.
Welcome,
yeah.
And thank you for this wonderful session.
And Miss Malaka,
yeah.
Next session, inshallah, is going to be about CCQs, يعني a whole session about CCQs. So I recommend that you attend.
Wonderful. Thank you for your all efforts. Thank you.
Thank you. Most welcome.
Yeah, I have a question. I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, I have a question. What should the students do when they want to copy the new vocabulary from the board? It's better to write the word in English and the definition in English, or write the meaning in Arabic. And how should they study the new vocabulary at home? Thank you.
Okay, so good. So this is a good question. So now the vocabulary, after doing, if your main aim is vocabulary, and after doing all these activities, students are more likely to still remember the meanings because they have worked on them all the class. In the whole class, they are working on the meaning, they are discussing the meaning, they are sorting, classifying, grouping, reducing, associating. So now they are more confident about the meaning. So you don't need to write the meanings on the board. So what if one of the students is not sure about the meaning of the word? He can ask, you can allow them to ask each other. And then if he is still, or if it's still he is not aware of, or his partners don't know the word, so they can ask you, and you try to simplify things for them, give examples, and the last resort is to give him the translation of the word. But if you write the meanings of the words from the board, you will not promote any kind of thinking while copying the words.
I'm sorry, in the student's notebook, what should the student write in his notebooks?
He should write the key language, of course, your target language. So you,
what about the meaning of the new vocabulary? Because when he is at home, he may forget the meaning of these words.
I agree with you. I agree with you. So they write the words in English, and they try to write the meanings in Arabic themselves, without writing this on the board. And then if they don't know the meaning, they can ask their friends, and if they don't know, they can ask you.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Okay. Any other questions?
Okay, no one is raising his or her hand. Okay, yes, no one has a question.
Okay. So now let's say thank you for being here and for your cooperation, for your nice answers, and for your useful questions, actually. Thank you so much.
Actually, we have to say thank you to you, Mr.
Thanks,
Lotfy,
Mr. Muhammad, and thanks, Dr. Haba. Dr. Haba.
Yes, it was amazing, yes. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mr. Muhammad.
Okay, you're most welcome. Okay. Bye-bye.